Good morning, good evening, good day, good night, wherever you are in the world. I am Tim, joined with my co-commentator Alex for the Formula EuroLeague Tier 3 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very good, Tim. Thanks for having me on again.
Hey, it's always fun to work with you, and as it just so happens, Azerbaijan is probably one of my favorite courses, definitely my favorite street course nonetheless, but probably my favorite track on the entire schedule.
Yeah, it's a very difficult track to get right. I mean, you have that famous Jolyon Palmer quote of you have to be alert on a street circuit, and especially this one indeed, through turns 8, 9, 10 and 11, the castle section, one of the hardest sections of corners to get right, and it will be difficult to see the drivers push 100% through there in this quali session.
And you are absolutely correct about that, Alex. And the castle section, as you said, is probably the most difficult part of this track, just because you're so used to these sweeping corners. You get into a nice little rhythm, and then you have to basically squeeze into this tight little narrow space. And if you get it wrong, then it could be the end of your race because you are into the wall with unrepairable damage.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another thing about this circuit is the massive start-finish straight. Probably about 2 miles, or maybe not 2 miles, but a massive stretch of straight that you're going to be fighting for toe during this qualifying session to stick behind, get a slipstream. So we just have to wait and see how people attack that final section.
It's going to be an interesting one to watch indeed, and as it just so happens, a full field here tonight for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. All 20 cars going to be lining up onto the grid when we take the green, but first we have to do with a qualifying session. All the drivers on the track are on their outlap at the moment, so they will be starting their time lap very soon. So we're going to take this time to sort of update you on what happened in Monaco last week in case you missed the race. It was Jory who absolutely dominated the race, coming in first over SVDL in the Toro Rosso, and that just further solidifies Williams' lead in the constructors' standings.
Yeah, I mean, I was there to witness the race, and it was a very commanding race there from Jory. I mean, he led the pack from lap 1, started on pole, led through Sandebont turn 1, and then just throughout the circuit just looked confident, didn't make any mistakes, didn't lose any front wing. It was just a very controlling race from him there as we'll start the first flying laps of the qualifying session.
Currently riding on board with Dimitri as he's going down that long front straightaway, crossing the line now to start his flying lap, going down into turn 1. He has decided to take the medium tires, and he goes a little bit wide out of turn 1 and actually spins it, goes into the wall, does Dimitri in that Racing Point machine. So definitely not the result that he was wanting early on in this qualifying session, but luckily for him, all his wheels are still on the car, so he is still in this session. He can repair that damage and get back out there for a fast lap.
I mean, luckily enough for him, his teammate, I think Ashy Boy, was just coming out of the pits as he spun it. So, I mean, very luckily enough for the Racing Point team, they were able to avoid a teammate collision there. But, I mean, that is unfortunate for Dimitri, but it just means he can go back in, put maybe the soft tyres on his car now, and he won't be able to get a banker lap in, because he'll have to waste time fixing this car and changing tyres.
That you're right. Now, do you expect the track to actually gain a little bit of grip as the qualifying session goes on?
Yeah, I think every track greens up as the qualifying session goes on. I mean, once the rubber gets laid down, it sort of heats up the track. Oh no, Dimitri's gone. Dimitri is gone through the castle section on board with him there. And he didn't have his front wing, so wasn't able to get his car turned in as much, and for some reason took a tight line in and just lost both his tyres on impact. So very unfortunate for him. He may start at the back of the grid, but he will get a free choice of tyre, which is very helpful around this heavy tyre wear circuit, you have to say.
We also have Dennis and SVDL, our points leader, actually out of the session as well, so both of those drivers retired. Not sure what has happened to them, but unfortunate indeed that they're not going to be able to set a time at all. But so far, the times beat was set by Levi. That is a 137.843, followed by Max P in the Haas with a 138.5, and Sesa in third with a 139.1, as we're riding on board with Strict Dan to see where he lines up against the rest of the field.
Yeah, I mean, the top three drivers all on the softer compound of tyre. When you had David on the mediums and Stain on the hards, it seems. So Stain obviously going for a different strategy than most of the other drivers here. And then Strict Dan gets into fifth with a 140.2 on the soft, so probably a banker there. As Go Zero goes third fastest on the softs as well. So the Renaults are looking quick around here with Levi and Go Zero there.
And they'll certainly enjoy hearing that, but the fact is that they're still going to have to hang on to that track position for another 12 minutes. Currently watching Frosty Calvin, who has yet to set a time. He is in the Red Bull, one of two Red Bulls in the field. Baku, his teammate, is just now starting his outlap. So we're going to see where Frosty Calvin ends up here in just a little bit, as he's just now entering Sector 2. So far, he was purple in that first sector, at least for the time being. So he is looking good as he's approaching the castle section now. Taking a very good line through that section. Very difficult to do indeed. So Frosty Calvin using every bit of curb that he can in order to try to get a fast lap here.
Yeah, I mean, on board with Go Zero, and he's again pushing the limits, getting us tight to the walls, maximising his exit. As there's a yellow flag in Sector 2, I'm not too sure who that is for. So I had a look, but I couldn't find anyone, so I'll go back on board with Go Zero here as he comes round on the final turns on the track, and now you come onto the massive straight here. Again, you want to take as tight lines on each of the corners to cut off a few centimetres of track, but that means everything. You're trying to carry as much speed through. Goes up to the left hand side of the track, opens up the DRS, and he will dive into the pit, so he won't set that lap. So obviously he was going a bit slower there. I wasn't able to finish that lap.
Yeah, meanwhile, Frosty Calvin has set the fourth fastest time with a 139.0. Now taking a look at his teammate, Baku, as he is just now starting his time lap. He has decided to fit the soft tire, so we expect him to have at least a similar time to his teammate, but we'll have to see where he is in the lap's time. It looks like behind him it is the McLaren of Sea-Dog, who is trying to get by him. Maybe some of these drivers just racing a little bit in qualifying, but I think Baku actually let Sea-Dog by. So we're going to take a look now at Sea-Dog and see just how his lap time is going. He does not have a time lap on board just yet, but he will momentarily, as this is his first time lap.
Yeah, so we'll wait to see what that is. I mean, interesting enough, Jory hasn't set a time yet. Second in the championship, came first last, qualified on pole as well around another tricky street circuit in Monaco, so he'll be hoping to replicate the same pace on a street circuit around the streets of Baku. There's Sea-Dog here, again maximising his turns on all the apexes as he flies through turn 13 now. A little touch of the barrier, but that's okay. You brake hard into turn 15, hit the apex, get on the throttle as quickly as possible, then down into turn 16, or a bit wide there. Misses the apex but does hit the outer curb, so kept it within the white lines. And now as he flies through here, leaves a bit of a gap to the wall there, doesn't want to lose traction, so he'll stay to the middle of the track, open DRS now the inside of the track, and it will be quick enough for 8th, so a 140.8, the slowest of the soft runners right now, but he will be looking to make up some time, definitely.
Not a bad time, though, from Sea-Dog. Now taking a look at last week's winner in the Williams of Jory, just now starting his time lap as he goes down into turn 1 here in just a moment. Alex, what's happened?
Karachole got it wrong at turn 15. He's locked up, put it into the barrier, so he must have lost a bit of his front wing, but still has all 4 tyres on his car, so that is the most important detail. He will be able to go in, get a change of tyres, as he was on the medium, so he was most likely coming into the pits this lap anyway to fit a pair of softs, but at the moment he's going to have to sit in the garage for about 2 minutes there to fix his wing, so not very good for him. But back on board with Jory.
Going back to Jory, just take a look at him and riding on board. So far, I do not think he is the fastest as he's going through Sector 2. Maybe just a little bit of a lockup from the Williams there, going through the castle section now. Takes a good line through there, gets a little close to the wall, but you really cannot avoid that at all. So Jory going to see if he can go for another win this week. 8 minutes left in this qualifying session, and just a little over half the drivers with a time on the board, and already 3 DNFs in the qualifying session.
Yeah, as you were talking about another DNF, we have another, front wing loss here, and it's Baku, who's lost his full front wing there. I think another lockup into turn 7, just before the castle section. A tough one to get right, is it? A little kink to left and then a big turn right, so you need to try and make that as straight as possible to keep the brakes, keep the tyres from locking up, but obviously wasn't able to do so, so he'll have a long trek back to the pits now without a front wing. And I think there's been another crash in Sector 1 here. It looks like it's the McLaren of Cielsa, who I think has got it all wrong again. Another driver who's fallen victim to the street circuit, so it's a dangerous track, this one.
That it is, and meanwhile, Jory has set the fastest time of the session, a 1:37.655 from Jory, so not a bad time at all. That is the time to beat, and the time that these drivers are chasing. Currently riding on board with Strict Dan in the Haas, his best time, a 1:40.262. But going to try to get just a little bit better, getting a little bit of a slipstream from the Ferrari of Junior Spam, but I almost think that the Ferrari's going to hold him up, but Junior Spam pulls over to let Strict Dan by, but it still doesn't matter because Strict Dan gets into the wall and is now damaged his front wing, so this will not be a fast lap for the Haas machine. He's going to have to pull into the pits and try again.
Well, I mean, you set a fastest Sector 2 apparently. I mean, this might be wrong, but if that is true and he did set a fastest Sector 2, you may see that and think, well, I can finish this lap, and maybe if I can get around quick enough, but no, I think he is going to pull into the pitch, yes he will. So maybe I've been lied to about that purple sector. Sometimes the game does like to do that, but anyway, he'll have to fix his wings. So a lot of wings being sacrificed today. As I go on board with Stain, it's a massive tussle for position here on the back straight, looking to grab that toe, and he is in the toe. I think that's Frosty Calvin, as Calvin pulls to the side to go into the pits. I'm surprised Stain didn't try and follow him. Oh no, Calvin just pulled out the slipstream, and Stain sets a fastest Sector 3 due to the toe, but isn't quick enough to take his teammate off pole apparently.
Now, Stain was only on the medium tires in that run, so I wonder if maybe he could pit this time and go out on the softs and get a little bit of a faster time. Of course, with the medium tires, you can stay out a little bit longer, so that might be what he's going after. But if he starts outside the top 10, then it's really not going to matter regardless for him, and he could change to whatever tire he wants at the start of the race.
Yeah, and that's the issue of starting 10th, because not only if he does start 10th from the mediums and he isn't able to get another lap time in, not only are you sacrificing the speed of the soft tyres for the first part of the race, so you're going to just fall behind, you've also got the people behind you who are going to be on fresh tyres, so whatever tyre you picked, even if they are on fresh mediums, they're going to be quicker than yours. So Stain, as he does drop outside the top 10 now, I think someone has gone quicker than him, so Stain will need to probably come in, set another set of softs on his on his car to try and get back into that top 10 and get a good qualifying position.
Now, of course, there might be a little bit of strategy involved with starting 10th or even outside the top 10. Probably not a purposeful strategy, but nonetheless, it can be beneficial. If you expect it to be a bit of a wreck fest up toward the front, you can kind of use that to hang back and hope that you get through the wrecks. But with Baku, I think that's more wishful thinking than anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to avoid the crashes around this circuit. You're either gonna be in them, or you're gonna be just too far behind to even notice the crashes, maybe even too far in front. But I do expect to see a few safety cars around this circuit, just judging how many cars have lost their front wings in this 18-minute qualifying session. Put a 50% race in it, and there's going to be a lot more crashes, so I half expect to see about 2 safety cars in this race today.
And I'd say that you're probably right on the money with that prediction there, Alex, because, as we've said, it is Baku. It's going to be a very tight track. I expect the first lap in itself to have a few broken wings.
Definitely. I mean, if drivers are losing control when they're on their own, imagine it when they have someone right behind them, or maybe someone in front of them they want to push towards.
My thoughts... Go ahead, Alex. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead, mate. You go ahead.
Those were actually my thoughts. Exactly. However, one thing that these drivers have got to watch out for is if there is a wreck, if there is some carnage early on, this is a very narrow circuit, so it could very easily actually block the lane. Now, obviously, that would be a safety car, but if it blocks the lane, they've got to be careful to not get hit from behind or even hit someone in front of them, because then it's just going to increase the pit time that they have to use to repair the car. So a lot of unknowns involved here going into Baku. Of course, as we say this, we're expecting carnage, but at the same time, they could go into turn 1, 2, 3, 4 and be super clean about it and not even touch. It's just a matter of how impatient these guys are going to be when the green flag drops.
Well, I mean, definitely. And as you say, blocking up the lane, a prime suspect of that is turn 8 through the castle section. We've seen, if you have been watching the virtual GPs, or the not the GP with Veloce Esports, you can see that that castle section is a massive calamity spot for drivers to just lose control, spin it, and then block the lane for the drivers behind them. So the front runners will have to be extra careful that they don't block the lane for the cars behind them, as they may induce a penalty. But a lot of drivers here going out for their last stint, and it will be very interesting to see what times we see on the board.
Just a little over a minute remaining in this qualifying session. Currently riding on board with Junior Spam in the Ferrari, as he's going to try to better his time. So far, he's only quick enough for 9th with a 139.251, but he's out there on fresh soft, so we'll see what he can do as he's entering Sector 2 and about to approach the castle section here momentarily. Junior Spam trying to do everything he can. Jory as well is on his outlap. Levi in second is on his outlap, and Frosty Calvin has just started his time lap. So as you said, a lot of drivers trying to go for broke here and go for one more fast timed lap to try to get that coveted pole position.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as we wait to see the jostle on the final lap of Slipstream, there's Jory here, your pole sitter at the moment, starts his lap time. We'll see if he's able to improve on that, as Joey was very quick last time out in Monaco, as I've mentioned before. A much needed win to him to break the deficit of SVDLs. 2 wins in a row, and Joey's already lost a bit of his end plate, so his time, his downforce will be prohibited, so he may not be able to set a faster lap time, so he is going to be very disappointed with that. It was only turn 2 that he lost it in. So Veterano has finished his qualifying session in 3rd, so he will hope to retain that position, as Levi is 2 temps up on his time, which would move him into pole, and I don't think Joe will have much to say about it without an end plate, as there's a yellow flag in Sector 2, and I think that is at the castle section. It's Junior Spam. No, is it not Junior Spam? I can't see who it is. Do you see who it is, Tim?
It looks like it might be a Renault or a Haas machine. I know Strict Dan, he already had an issue. I think he wrecked out of the session, but the other Haas of Max P, I think, is what it was. I think he was stopped right there in the castle section in that little chicane area. So bad luck for both Haas cars here in the qualifying session, as we're just watching Levi finish off his final qualifying lap. Currently good enough for 2nd with a 137.733, but getting a little bit of a slipstream off of his teammate there, but not holding on to it for long. As he crosses the line, Levi will rocket to the pole, a 137.202 for the Renault.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be good enough for Polish Joey here. As I said before, lost his end plate, so hasn't got the speed. He's going to be very disappointed. He has to stick with second. Frosty Calvin moved up to third. Goes 0 with his time stays 8th. Kinkiski isn't able to move up position and will have to stay 9th as we now wait for Ashley Boyd to finish his time. He's 2 attempts up. He may be able to displace Kinkiski, but it will only be 11th for Ashley Boyd. But one of the best places to start on the grid is you get free choice of tyre. But here are the qualifying results for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It will be Levi Vogular who gets his first pole after strong performance last time out in Monaco in the Renault. Joey is second, Frosty third. Veterano gets a 5-place grid penalty, so he will drop down to 9th. David in 5th, Max P 6th, Junior Spam 7th, Go 0 8th, King Kiski 9th, Chielsa 10th, Ashiboy 11th, Stain 12th, Karacha Ole 13th, Strick Dan 14th, Sea Dog 15th, It's Shake 16th, while Ku was the last of the time setters in 17th, and Dimitri, Dennis and SVDL all didn't set times.
So SVDL, with him sitting on top of the point standings at the moment, he is sitting pretty, so the mistake isn't going to cost him too much, but nonetheless, he still has to break into that top 10 in order to score points. Otherwise, the guys behind him could very easily catch him if he has a day where he does not score any points at all. Just to update you viewers on the point standings at the moment, it is SVDL on top of the board, as we said, with 111 points. Behind him is Jory with 79 points, and Stain in third with 57 points. So Jory will have a chance to gain significantly on SVDL, as he's going to have to start at the back of the pack. However, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. So we'll be looking for SVDL to try to make his way through, but that's assuming that he avoids all the carnage that could very well happen today.
Yeah, as we wait for the session to get underway, as it looks like they're starting their formation lap now. So, Tim, I've got to ask you, as you always ask me this, who do you think is going to take the checkered flag today?
Honestly, I am thinking either Jory or Frosty Calvin. Jory had the pole for a little bit there in the session before Levi was just able to get a little bit ahead of him there toward the end. Levi nonetheless looking fast, but I really liked what I was seeing from both Jory and Frosty Calvin. Especially Calvin, as he took a very nice line through the castle section. He looks like he knows the track. He looks confident in his ability to go around this track. So we'll be looking at the Red Bull and the Williams today for sure, as Strick Dan has actually left the session. Not sure what's going on. Hopefully he can get back into his car, as he is going to be lining up in the 14th position.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jory, for raw pace around this track, he needs to be consistent as he was in Monaco, because it is very easy to just lose the back end around one of these corners, or even take too much speed through one of the corners and just put yourself into the wall, especially around this castle section. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see if anyone has the consistency to just keep it out the walls for the entire 26 laps. But we'll have to wait and see for the lights, as Levi here leading the pack away for one of the first times this season. He's going to be very happy about his time, as Strick Dan is able to get back into the session, so that is good news for him. He'll be able to join just before the race starts.
So to just update you on the starting order here, it is Levi in first, Jory in second, Frosty Calvin in third, David in fourth, Max P in the Haas in fifth, the Ferrari of Junior Spam in sixth, seventh is the Renault of Ram Ghost Zero, King Kiski in 8th, 9th is Veterano, Sesa in 10th, Ashy Boy in 11th, 12th is Stain, 13th is Kukaracha, Strick Dan in 14th, Sea Dog in 15th, It's Jake in 16th, 17th is Waku, Dimitri in 18th, 19th is Dennis, and SVDL rounding them out in the 20th position as the drivers line up onto the grid here momentarily to take their appropriate positions. We will start very soon, and Alex, I'm tossing it to you.
Thank you very much, Tim, as we wait for the Toro Rossos to settle at the back of the grid. I think there's also a Mercedes in there as well. Quite a few cars all out of shape of their position. But as we wait for the race start around the streets of Azerbaijan, as the cars rev their engines, get to the optimal RPM, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, and away we go for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And Baku gets a drive-through penalty, but that's not what we're focused about. We're focused, and there's a massive collision there. I think it was King Kiski and Jory. King Kiski comes flying through the first corner. The two Ferraris have made a collision. Two Ferraris collided, and I think there's some front wing damage between them too. But Levi still leads the race, and there is a full safety car now as King Kiski dives straight into Jory through the first corner, and Joey is going to be fuming with his other competitor there. And Tim, what did you make of that? Did you see any of it?
I saw it, and I really don't know what to think of it. It just looked like King Kiski went straight into that corner like he had no brakes or something, but I'm not sure if that was the issue or not. It looked like he almost had to use Jory as a brake. So going straight into turn one, he just made contact, and then they were in the runoff area. Now, luckily for Jory, there is a safety car, but nonetheless, with him starting all the way in the back now, he's going to have a lot of ground to make up if he's going to want to challenge for the win of this race.
And I mean, it's going to be very interesting with now SVDL and Jory both at the back of the pack. Your two championship leaders with SVDL in first, Jory in second, will now have to climb their way back through the field to try and capture some points. And I think it's going to be a more difficult task for Jory, as he will have to come into pit. But SVDL did pick up a 5-second time penalty I saw there with a collision with, I think it was Dimitri, I'm not too sure, but I did see him pick up a penalty, so he will have to serve that at some point during this race when he comes into the pits. But other than that, it'll be very interesting to see those two championship leaders have to fight their way through the pack and show their quality.
And it's unfortunate, though, for King Kiski that he is out of this race, so he will not be able to do anything. Of course, Jory, he probably does not share that sentiment. He probably is rather happy to see the Alfa Romeo out after that. Of course, as we expected, a lot of drivers pitting here on the, not the qualifying session, on the safety car. So, taking a look at the tires that these drivers are choosing, a lot of them are going for the mediums. So, going to try to stretch it out. Some drivers, even in the back, going for the hards. Jory has pitted. We'll see what tire he decides to put on as we're taking a look at him. Though it looks like there was an issue getting into his pit because his teammate was there. So, Stain was actually holding Jory up from getting into the pit. So, Jory has went in and elected to take the hard tires. So, I can imagine that he can make those last about 20 laps or so, do you think? Maybe even longer if he has to.
Yeah, I mean, the safety car will really play into the driver's hands who did pick the hards, because it means if they're able to look after them very well through this first, 2 laps that the safety car will be out, they'll be able to, keep them at a good temperature and maybe be able to go to the end. I mean, we saw SVDL do it back in Spain, my first race as a commentator. We saw him go about 33 laps on the hards around Circuit de Catalunya. So maybe Jory thinks, if SVDL can make it work, I can surely make it work. And we'll have to just wait and see for what is the outcome.
If there is another safety car, a full course safety car, I do believe that the drivers on hard tires can make it to the end. If there is not another safety car, it might be a little close, and they might have to think about saving tires either early on or a little bit later. However, Jory is not the only driver on hard tires, so he's going to have to worry about other drivers maybe having the same idea. His teammate of Stain is on hard tires, as well as Dennis in the Toro Rosso and Ghost Zero in the Renault. So 4 drivers deciding to take the hard tires that time around. No one pitted for the softs, but a few did pit for the mediums. Junior Spam pitted for the mediums, as well as Dimitri and David. A few drivers, though, stayed out, including our pole sitter of Levi and Frosty Calvin, who's moved from 3rd to 2nd After that lap 1 carnage, Cucaracha in 3rd in the Ferrari, Max P in 4th, Sesa in 5th, Veterano moving his way up from 9th to the 6th position, Ashy Boy in 7th, Sea-Dog in 8th, 9th is Strictan, and It's Jake coming in 10th. Those are the drivers that stayed out, as now SVDL has decided to pit, so not sure what's going on there, but he is dropping down.
And he also picked up another 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. So it's gone from bad to worse for SVDL. That gives Joey a 3 position, so he's already one up. And SVDL looks to go onto, I think, another set of mediums. I may be wrong, but if I'm reading the tyre graphic correctly, he's gone onto another set of mediums. So he obviously thinks mediums are the best tyre to be on at the moment. But as we wait for the restart of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix, I've got 1 safety car out the way, and my call of 2 could be close enough once we finally get back racing.
That it could, and SVDL, as you said, on those medium tires, when we go back green, we're going to have about 21 to 22 green flag laps, assuming that there's not another safety car. So, realistically, he might be able to stretch the medium tires that long if he saves, but that's a big ask.
Yeah, definitely. So as they fly through, well, I say fly through, as they walk through the castle section, not what you wanted to hear on the 3rd lap of the race. You want to see the cars flying through the streets of Baku. But we'll have to wait and see for when the safety car deems it is safe for the drivers to get back on the way. But the slipstream down to the first turn is going to be very, very interesting to see. And I wonder who will get the biggest toe and the biggest slingshot on the first straight.
I'm going to be looking at Cucaracha and Frosty Calvin to maybe try to make a move on Levi, because they will have the slipstream, while Levi is kind of like a sitting duck when that safety car goes in, and the safety car will be going in this time, so we will be coming back with 22 green flag laps in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Levi going to lead them off, followed by Frosty Calvin, Cucaracha, Max P, and Sesa, your top 5 at the moment, just waiting on that green flag. Levi is the control car, so when he goes, the rest of the field can go. I imagine that Levi's trying to catch him sleeping, and he did. A good start from the Renault as he is going and pulling away from these drivers, but Frosty Calvin using to his advantage that slipstream that he has. So already closing in on the back of Levi as they cross the line and head down into turn 1. Frosty Calvin looking on the outside but will not be able to make a move, and Cucaracha was maybe looking on the inside a little bit but not able to do it, and now Cucaracha going on the inside of Frosty Calvin. Will he clear him going into 2? Yes, he will.
For the racing point of Ashy Boy's gone round, and I expect to see another safety car as there is a massive collision at the back of the pack. Maybe not, as the safety cars only just come in. They may not give another safety car. Ashy Boy is without a front wing. SVL gets through relatively unscathed, but he loses a bit of his front wing. Dennis loses his end plate. Dimitri, I think, has got some problems as well. Yeah, he's lost half his front wing. So the whole back half of the grid has lost pretty much everything. Stain has lost his entire front wing. Jory has lost half his front wing. And I'm surprised we haven't seen another safety car, to be fair, because that was a massive collision at the back of the pack. But Levi is about 1.6 seconds clear, maybe 2 seconds clear of Karacha. So the medium tyres are suiting Levi well in this situation, as Karacha will be holding up Frosty. But Tim, it was a massive collision, I can't lie to you there.
That it was. I was able to catch the end of it there, and it just so happens that what we were afraid of did happen, and that was that a big wreck actually blocked the track. Actually surprised that we only got 1 DNF from that, but just now SVDL is now out of this race. So what happened to him?
Yeah. I think SVDL crashed in the castle section. He lost a bit of his front wing, and Baku as well has lost it. I think the front wings are really causing difficult, and we have seen another safety car now. So as I was calling for it before, we finally get it this time. As my prediction is, we haven't even had 1 full lap of green lap racing or green flag racing yet. So we as the neutrals, as the spectators, are being starved for some racing around the streets of Baku. Can these drivers please keep it clean, Tim?
I really have no idea at this point, but it looked like Ashy Boy's bad day went a little bit worse when he reached the stopped car of Baku because he hit the back of him. And I think that whatever might have been left from his front wing after that big collision coming out of turn 1 finished it off because he does not have a wing. So undoubtedly he will pit. We see him dive down in there in the 16th position. I think most drivers pitted this time. In fact, only 4 drivers stayed out, which makes Sesa our new leader. It is a McLaren 1-2 at the moment as Ashy Boy is waiting on his teammate of Dimitri to get out of the pit box so that he can make his pit stop. Of course, not that it will matter as he was already in the 16th position. So it looks like Ashy Boy is going to go for the soft tires. Not sure why he's decided to go for the soft tires. Maybe just trying to make up a little bit of track position, but they will not last very long at all. Meanwhile, our pole sitter of Levi went with the hard tires as well as Frosty Calvin and Max P.
I mean, yeah, I think the reason Levi and Frosty didn't come in last time is because they thought, well, there's most likely going to be another safety car if we had an incident like that at the first turn, straight from the off. There's going to be another one when we're back racing, so they wanted to conserve that hard tyres, which means Joey will now have to go. The drivers who were on the hard tyres beforehand will now have to switch onto the mediums as they won't be able to fit the same hard tyres, so they'll even have to maybe do another pit stop near the end of this race if they can't get the mediums to last. So very unfortunate for Joey. Now SVDL's out the race. It would have been a massive chance for him to make up some ground, but we'll still have to wait and see.
This does give Jory a chance, though, to score valuable points, although he's only in the 12th position, so that's going to be very difficult for him. He's going to have to get into at least the top 10 if he wants to gain any bit at all on SBDL. Of course, nonetheless, that would also help the Williams, but one thing that I feel is important to note, and that I noticed just a little bit ago, is that as they run currently, our top 2 constructors of Williams and Toro Rosso are not in the top 10 at all. So if this race were to end right now, they would not score any points.
Yeah, and that would massively shake up. Well, it wouldn't shake up the constructors even. It wouldn't shake it up at all, actually, as the 2 top teams wouldn't score any points, which is very disappointing for both teams. I mean, Dennis, the interim driver here for Toro Rosso, trying to get him some points, 13th. Jory, the lead, Williams into 12th, and Stain behind them in 14th. So Dennis in sort of a Williams sandwich at the moment, but it is the 2 McLarens who do lead the way for us during this safety car period. Whether that will be what we can say at the end of the race, we'll have to wait and see.
So how long do you think that Sesa is going to be able to stretch those soft tires? Because he has 5 laps on them, but they are basically 5 safety car laps, so he has probably 90% of life left in those tires, I would imagine.
Yeah, he probably has quite a bit, but I mean the softs around here anyway are very tough, a very tough tyre to keep clean and keep in check. So I mean, the one stop probably for him will be a viable strategy now, going from the soft to the mediums, but I think he'll be able to last. I mean, I would have said the softs to go about 8 laps, maybe even 6. I mean, 6 would be if you're really pushing, if you're like in the lead as he is, but 8 would be if you're conserving a bit. So I'd say he'd be able to go to around the 12th lap mark, maybe the 14th if he's lucky. But other than that, I think he'll be able to do that's 14 laps on the mediums, maybe even 13. So I think it will be good to go from the softs to the mediums till the end of the race.
And of course, that is assuming that we have no more safety cars, which is starting to look like that's really not a possibility. Currently waiting on this current safety car to pull in, and just as I say that, we do get confirmation safety car in this lap. So gonna try to do this one more time while the drivers round the final few corners to go down the home stretch to eventually restart this race. It will be Sesa in the McLaren leading his teammate of Sea-Dog to the green, followed by It's Jake in the Mercedes, Strickdan in the Haas, and the pole sitter of Levi in the Renault, your top 5. So the safety car about to pull into the pits, and that will release these drivers. Sesa is, of course, the control car, so Sea-Dog going to try to get a little bit of a slipstream off of him, maybe. Of course, now he just looks like he's trying to start side by side with him, And there goes Sesa and Sea-Dog down into turn 1, but behind them there is a little bit of a jostle for position between Strict Dan and It's Jake. But so far, so good. Very clean through the first corner. It looks like, though, that Frosty Calvin is trying to make a move, and there is a little bit of carnage going through turn 2, but I think everyone got through fairly cleanly, but Frosty Calvin has actually dropped down to the 15th position.
I was going to say Frosty Calvin, I think, went straight on there. Maybe a bit of a mistake in his braking, as it's all very tentative from the drivers now, going around first green lap racing. As there's a massive crash, and there's another retiree, 2 retirees even. There may be another safety car, as it is the Haas of Strict Dan there, who goes down the inside, sort of like what Kinkiski did on the first in the first turn. Just gets his braking zone, get his braking point wrong, tries to go up the inside, but just carries too much speed and cracks Ole, the unfortunate. The unfortunate passenger in that situation, just into the wall as Calvin without his front wing, or just even with his front wing, found it hard to go through that turn, as he does get through the castle section there cleanly. So I think we do have green flag racing still, which is good for the spectators, as Levi here looking to make a move on It's Jake, as It's Jake goes very wide. Will he have the pace? It's Jake just slashes across Levi there. Levi is able to get the move, but that's going to harm his run through the straight. As now It's Jake is falling positions. Max P gets alongside Levi, and now Levi is 3 wide with Max P, Goes Zero, and himself. And now It's Jake got the slipstream. And they're putting each other into the wall. What is going on here? Collisions everywhere, as it looks like Sea-Dog will come into the pits here, as there is a virtual safety car now. Do you know what happened there, Tim?
It looked like It's Jake got a little bit loose before they entered that long straightaway, and he got into Levi there, and then going down the straightaway, it looked like Levi gave him a little bit of a revenge shot, and not sure what's going on. There might be a little bit of a feud between those 2 drivers. So if only we could listen in on the 2 drivers' conversations. Of course, most of them are probably in a party with their teammate, but if they're not, I'm sure that there's some words being exchanged.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's. I mean, looking at it from my point of view, back in the day, a few years ago, when we had Sebastian Vettel bumping into the side of Lewis Hamilton, as Lewis Hamilton brake checked him, said before. So a bit of a retaliation pick there. I think that's what what Levi tried doing to It's Jake, and now It's Jake pays dividend. He's still up in 6th. I think he carried on, as Levi, I think, lost a bit of his front wing, so he came into the pits. So he will have to try and battle his way through, as I think It's Jake has got an issue with his gearbox here, or that might just be issue for me, as his revs are always hitting the limiter, so I'll come off with him to preserve my ears, as Frosty Calvin here in 13th, Veterano behind him. So they will both have to do recovery drivers. Joey here gets the move on Go Zero thanks to the slipstream of Max P. DRS has now been enabled, and there's a crash in Sector 3. It looks like it's the Mercedes of It's Jake has gone, so maybe him trying to stay out on a little bit of broken wing has cost him, as now Ashley Boy will drop into the pits thanks to the VSC, and he will come into the pits at the perfect speed, doesn't break the speed limit. Is Chelsea here has a 6.5 second gap on Max P behind him, and he's had VSC's safety cars, he's had the full shebang to keep those tyres clean, so maybe he will be a driver to look out for by the end of the race if Max P doesn't have to pit in again. But it is Max P with Jory behind him. Go Zero in 4th, as the VSC has been lifted straight away, so we can get back on the way for some green flag racing finally once again, as the battle for second looks like it's heating up, as Levi gets the move on Sea-Dog. So Levi starting his recovery drive straight away here, so we'll have to stay on board with him. But Tim, what are you looking at the moment?
Riding on board with Ghost Zero as he's trying to make a move on Jory on the inside. They are side by side, but will he be able to make that move? He does clear, and there may be a little bit of contact there. Ghost Zero gets very loose, so that allows Jory to get back by him. Very tight racing for that final podium position, and it's only on lap 9. So it is Jory in third, Ghost Zero in fourth. They're chasing Max P and Sesa ahead of them, but they're not worried about them at the time being. For now, they're just worried about each other. Of course, Max P is still in this mix as Jory is trying to chase him down now, getting a little bit close, trying to use the slipstream. I do not believe the DRS is active for these drivers at the moment, so he does not have the benefit of that, but he will nonetheless try to go by the Haas machine going on the inside as they approach turn 1. They cross the line, and Jory will clear him. So Jory now in first as Sesa has decided to pit after 9 laps on those soft tires. So move Jory up to first. He has went from second to 20th to first in just a matter of 10 laps here in this race.
Yeah, so Levi sets the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:44. So your pole sitter still carrying on his pace from qualifying session as he looks to eye up Chiesa in 7th, who had just come into the pit. So my prediction of how long his tyres would last was very incorrect as he comes in on lap 10 here. So we'll look to do 16 laps on a medium, which could be possible. So we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. So it is Jory who leads from Max P, who is still just quite close behind him. Ghost Zero in third, who's even closer behind Max P as they fly through the castle section now. And Ghost Zero is literally on the gearbox of Max P here, and he's just waiting for him to make a mistake. As he's 2 tenths behind, will he go for the same move that he tried to on Jory? No, he looks like he's just going to stick behind him in the slipstream and look to use the start-finish straight to his advantage.
And one of those drivers, I think it is Max P, has some wing damage as Ghost Zero gets a little bit loose there. But I think the Haas has a little bit of wing damage because going through the castle section and then a few corners ago, I saw some piece of debris fly off. So there might be a little bit of an aerodynamic issue with the second place car at the moment. But nonetheless, it is not holding him up for the time being because Ghost Zero is actually getting passed by David. So David moving into the third position now in that Mercedes coming out of nowhere. But now Ghost Zero trying to go on the inside of David and almost puts him into the wall. That was close.
Front wing gone. Yeah, front wing gone of Ghost Zero there. So it's another VSC. Ghost Zero loses his complete front wing there, which isn't what he would have wanted. But we were talking about, Ghost Zero, is he going to get the move on Max P? David with the double slipstream, obviously with the tow from Max P and Ghost Zero able to just slingshot his way forward. And I don't think Ghost Zero is happy with that, tries to get the move back and just ends up going too deep and loses his entire front wing. But this is going to suit the likes of Jory, who is on 6 lap old mediums with a bit of a gap, which means he can preserve them a little bit, make sure they go a bit longer than they would have normally. As we wait for the VSC to end here, normally lasts about 40 seconds, maybe 30, it depends how big the collision is, and we're back on the way here. And Ghost Zero is going to have to be very careful, and he's gone too deep into, I think that's turn 7, and loses his left front wheel there, and that is going to be very disappointing for the Renault driver as Dimitri picks up a 3-second time penalty, but that is disappointing for Ghost Zero there. That's all he needed to do was get the car back round into the pits, and he still had a chance to get points here.
So likely not going to be a good points day for the Renault drivers. However, the pole sitter of Levi is running in 7th, so he might be their only shot at points today. But, of course, he's going to have to still finish in the top 10, but doing a good job of it so far as he is battling with Dennis in the Toro Rosso, trying to use that slipstream to get close to him, but just can't do it at the moment. Going down the long straightaway, and Levi gets a very good exit, so he's going to make a move on the inside of Dennis, and he will clear him before they get to turn 1, so a good move from the pole sitter of Levi. Going to go take a look now at our pole sitter, or excuse me, our first place runner of Jory in the Williams, who is up there and with a 1.8 second gap over Max P in second. So Jory in the Williams trying to get a very good points day and a win, another win.
Dimitri, sorry to cut you off, Tim. Dimitri, a massive moment for him there. I don't know what happened. I didn't see any contact. I think he just lost it on the exit of turn 1 there on the curb. and spun it right in front of Sea Dog and loses his entire front wing as well. So a lot of front wings being replaced, as I said before. So we'll have to wait and see what he does here. He will look to just bring it round, unlike Ghost Zero, and we'll have to just wait and see with what his tyre selection will be, as I think he's gone through every tyre choice he could. I think he started on the softs, then went on to the mediums, and he's lost his tyre. And once again, it's the front left wheel coming off the driver's car. So Dimitri has lost another position. He will DNF on this race. So we have 9 casualties in this race so far, which is an enormous amount of drivers not being able to finish. So it will mean that only one driver will not walk away from here with points, which will be disappointing for them, as at the moment it is Veterano who has gone through lots of issues through this race. So I have to wait and see, but it's Jory who still leads the pack from Max P and is gaining a gap there, which is very hard to do on this circuit due to the slipstream and the massive straight at the back of it. Very disappointing from Dimitri there.
Yeah, and that's still assuming that they are not done wrecking. We have 11 drivers left on the track, as you said. So not a lot of battles going on right now because it's gotten so spaced out that it's just became a race of pure survival. If you can survive, you will get points. That's basically what it's looking like right now, with the exception of that one little outlier in the 11th place, assuming, of course, that they're not done wrecking. If Veterano, though, can keep it clean and someone ahead of him wrecks out, then he could walk away with a few free points.
Yeah, I think the field is spreading out a bit now, so there shouldn't be as many collisions, as the closest battle we've got at the moment is Levi and Chelsea, and Celsa even, as Levi, who was on pole, was leading the race very comfortably, who came into the pits maybe at the wrong time, has lost a few positions down into 6th, but he is gaining rapidly on Celsa here, about 8 tenths the gap now, so we'll have to wait and see what he can do here on the back straight. He got a brilliant exit last time out, but will he be able to replicate that? As we'll wait and see as he does fly through. I think that's turn 16 and now goes through the back straight. Is he close enough? Will the DRS help him out? It does look like he's gaining, maybe just not enough here, so he'll be close up but not close enough this lap.
Nonetheless, still trying to use that slipstream and gets very close, less than half a second separating Sesa and Levi now. So with this second DRS straight coming up here soon, just out of turn 2, he might be able to get close enough to at least think about making a move, but he's not going to be able to make a move going into the corner. He's just too far away from Sesa, so it looks like Levi's saving grace is going to be the DRS here, because Sesa is just fast enough to keep him out of striking range.
Yeah, but I mean, next lap is where he's going to be dangerous. He was about a second away at this point last lap, so he's lapping quicker than about 7 tenths, so maybe it's just a matter of time of when he's able to get the overtake done. But David now right on the back of Max P. I think Max P made a mistake because he dropped 4 seconds back now on the leader of Jory. So David looking to get the move done on Max P. And he's about the same distance away as Levi was last lap on Cielsa. So maybe next lap that he's able to get the move, and Max P loses a bit of his front wing there. I just saw a bit of debris come off his car ahead of him. I didn't even check to see if he had any damage from beforehand, and yeah, it looks like he's lost his entire right part of his front wing. So that is going to be very disappointing for him, as he will probably look to shoot into the pits, and we'll just want to try and not give David any slipstream here, as we'll go on board with Max P now. And yes, he does shoot into the pits and releases David, but no, David comes into the pits behind him. So both drivers here coming into the pits. Maybe David sees that Max P ahead of him has damage, so he can get a free tyre change here without losing any positions. And he does overtake Max P here in the pits. It's Chelsea now right on the back of Levi, as Levi gets promoted into third. And we were talking about the two Williams beforehand, saying, "Oh, it may be a tough day for them to get points." They are now first and second, a 1-2 for the Williams at the moment.
And a very good showing for them indeed. Of course, I'm sure that Stain would rather be up there in first, but that is an 8-second gap between Jory and Stain, 8.6 to be exact. So already Jory showing that he is going to be very dominant. He wins Monaco, and now he might be able to win Azerbaijan if he can lead for just another 11 laps here. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's still a lot of racing to go. So anything can happen to Jory, as we have very well seen with 9 drivers being out of this race so far.
Yeah, momentum is a massive thing in racing, and coming from last week, getting the victory, this is exactly what he will need if he can come out here and get another one. Maybe upset SVDL and his momentum after picking up the 2 wins beforehand, one in Germany and one in Spain. Jory looks to be the king of the street circuits in your Formula Euro League Tier 3, as I think he's issuing that he's going to go into the pits. So yes, Jory will come on into the pits, so he has 11 laps left in this race. What tyre do you think Joey will go on to?
I personally would go on the mediums, because so far he has lasted 11 laps on the mediums. We'll see what he does, though. He might be able to get away with the softs, but I think that's just a little bit too much of a big ask for him to do. And he does go on the medium tire, so Jory going to try to make it to the end of the race on the medium tire. So that puts Stain, his teammate, in first with 11 laps on those hard tires. But now Stain has actually dropped down because Levi was able to make a move on the Williams. So now your pole sitter of Levi has worked his way up back to first, and now Sesa is out of the session. Not sure what has happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, Celsa, I think it's the heavy braking zone. I think that's turn 3, where he's just got his braking zone all wrong and gone a bit deep into the corner and loses one of his wheels. So very disappointing for Celsa there, as he was doing well. So that means everyone here will finish with points. Even Veterano, if he's able to get past Celsa here on the track. So everyone will walk away here a winner, as it looks like Frosty Calvin looking to size up a move on Ashy Boy, who is on the hard tyres, so should be looking to go to the end, as Ashy Boy gets it all wrong, and it looks like they're going to go too wide. No, Ashy Boy sacrifices the position and dives behind Frosty Calvin, as Ashy looks like he's having a bit of problems with his car. But other than that, Levi, who was your pole sitter, retains his lead of the race.
And probably best that Ashy Boy backed out when he did. Going side by side through that castle section would not have been a good idea, but Ashy Boy is having some problems of his own as he keeps bouncing off the walls. So not sure what's going on in that Racing Point machine, but the car is definitely not handling the way that he needs it to be. So Ashy Boy just struggling and trying to get to the end of this race, while Frosty Calvin is trying to recover as much as he can. But with 8 laps on those medium tires, I expect to see him pit before too long, because we've only seen drivers take it to about 11 laps on those medium tires. So Frosty Calvin might be thinking of a pit stop soon, but not this time, as he goes by and moves back up into 7th because Sea-Dog pit ahead of him.
Yeah, so Sea-Dog obviously doesn't think the hard tyres are going to work. Oh no, he's going for a front wing change. I don't know, I think he's missing both end plates. I'm looking at his old front wing here. He's missing both end plates, so it had to change, and he's gone on to the soft tyres, so he will be the fastest man on track on those soft tyres, and we just wait to see what can happen as everyone gains a position. Frosty Calvin here, probably lapping the most consistent at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see if he's able to catch up to Jory ahead of him and put second place in the championship under some pressure, as Levi here still leads the race very comfortably.
Yeah, riding on board with Levi just to show you the amount of nothingness that he is looking at right now, and that's what he would rather see, is leading this race. Levi 2.7 seconds over Stain in the second position. I actually expected Stain to be a little bit quicker, but with 12 laps on those hard tires, I would imagine that they are starting to show their life just a little bit. And he really just cannot seem to gain on Levi at all. Of course, I do wonder if Levi is going to have to pit again, because that was his 10th lap on those medium tires.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, Tim, if you were in Levi's position, your 10-lap-old mediums, they're gonna start falling off the cliff very soon. You got Stain behind you on 13-lap-old hards. Do you think you'd be able to muscle these medium tyres around the track for another 9 laps and be able to sacrifice not pitting again on to put on a set of soft tyres, allowing maybe Stain or David to catch up? Or do you just long it out on those mediums and get to the end of the race?
I personally would long it out as long as I possibly could, at least until Stain got to my back bumper and I couldn't hold him off anymore, because Levi is still gaining on him. 3.5 seconds now separating these two drivers, so I would be backing off if I was Levi and trying to conserve those tires as much as possible, coasting through corners, braking very early and trying to not get too hard on the brakes, making sure to not lock them up, doing everything I can to save the tires while also giving Stain a little bit of hope, because if he sees that interval drop, he will likely be running his car a little bit harder to catch the leader. And if he does so, his tires will be wearing down a lot quicker, maybe forcing him to pit before Levi. Assuming, of course, that Levi can hold off the tire wear, and with it, when it's mediums versus hards, you just don't know which one's going to win out. But nonetheless, I would stay out as long as absolutely possible. I am surprised, though, that Levi is still continuing to gain on Stain. 4.1 seconds now separating these two drivers with just a little over 7 laps to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, as we were talking, the gap's increasing. So maybe Levi is able to contend with his tyres a lot better than Stain is able to at the moment. But Stain, you know, he's got a 16-second gap to David behind him. So Jory is his teammate here. Jory is the fastest man on track as he looks again onto Max P, try and take fourth. It may be a bit too much to ask to try and get back into their fight for the win of this race on those fresh medium tyres, but him, Max P and David all right next to each other. As I've just noticed, Dennis come into the pits to set a set of soft tyres on his car, and he will come out right behind Sea-Dog. So this is going to be a nice battle to finish the race for them two, with 7 laps to go for them, both on the soft compound tyres. So we'll have to wait and see how that battle will fold out. So we'll have to wait and see for that, as Max P and Joey both within the 1 second mark of David. So David's tyres look like a slower tyre to be on, obviously on the hards. So we'll wait to see down this back straight if Joe will be able to make the double toe work and slingshot his way forward.
Riding on board with Dennis, trying to see what he can do, though I do believe that Sea-Dog is a little bit quicker. So Dennis going through the castle section, having a little bit of an issue there, struggling, trying to keep it off the wall. He is able to do so, but not before going very slow. It looks like his car is actually suffering from a little bit of understeer, so it's getting very tight in the corners and pushing really bad for Dennis. At least that's what it appears like for me. So not sure what's going on there, but Dennis might be struggling big time. Nonetheless, going to rejoin this battle for fourth, because David is starting to close in on Max P. Just about half a second separating these two drivers, and behind him is Jory, who gets very loose out of turn 2.
Yeah, I mean, Max P got the DRS on David, was able to make the move stick through the first corner, and then Jory, not wanting to lose Max P, who is on the medium tyres, he doesn't want to get held up by David, looks to go for a move down the inside of turn 2 and just touches David's back end and nearly loses it on the throttle control. But he'll need to get this move done and quick before Max P is able to break that second mark to David, which he already has. So this could be a problem for Jory.
It really could, and really, Jory, his best chance without a safety car now is only the 3rd position. So he is just trying to fight for podiums at this point. However, that would be a good points day for Williams nonetheless. But all of these drivers chasing Levi in first, but it looks like Jory's going to try to make a move on David on the outside, but he just was not able to complete it that time. and David hits the wall. So Joe-Ry might actually be getting by David after all, because David hits the wall, and that's going to damage his front wing. A little bit of contact between these two drivers now, but David is surrendering the inside line for the time being, but still not going to give up that position very easily. But now Joe-Ry going on the inside, and he will be able to clear David because of the wing damage. So Joe-Ry move him up into the 4th position, but now he has to make up 3.3 seconds to Max P.
Yeah, and Max P will be licking his lips with what's just happened there with David, because let's be real here. David crashing there, and Joe-Ry being too close behind him, wasn't able to react and put his car further out to left to get the move. He had to stick behind him, so he was held up as much as David was. And then through there, because he got the move done quicker, he also had to slow down through that left corner to make sure he didn't slide into David, and also had to my mic just cut out, but David had to obviously give him the position, and then he also got DRS because he overtook. David was behind Joey in the DRS activation point, so that was perfect for Max, as he already bridges a gap of 3 seconds, and it looks like Max may walk away with 3rd place here.
And he's going to be enjoying the sound of that, but he's still going to have to get through another 5 laps here of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and he's 14 seconds behind Stain, so 2nd place is sort of out of the question for him without a safety car, but nonetheless, a 3rd place is a podium, and that is a good run indeed. Levi, meanwhile, he is on a Sunday drive out there in 1st place with 5.5 seconds separating him and Stain. I do believe that he's going to try to make those medium tires last as long as he absolutely can, because at this point it is his race to lose. He can basically ride around and save the tires and still have a chance to have something there toward the end, because Stain, with 17 laps on those hard tires, they probably starting to feel the age on them, so they are starting to show through and show that they are very elderly and trying everything he can to hang on to that car. But so far he's looking a little bit more stable than his teammate of Joe-Ry did a few laps ago through the same corner. So Stain might just be set for a 2nd place podium finish, and that would be a good day for him indeed.
Yeah, I mean, Levi has to long it out on these mediums now. There's no point coming into the pits with 3 laps to go. He needs to stick it out, and it's going to be a very good performance, as he dropped back quite a few positions after pitting after the 2nd safety car, I believe, and was able to climb his way back through thanks to some other DNFs and some other drivers coming into the pits. So very good result for him.
Yeah, and he's went from the pole to dropping very far back, and now back to the lead. So Levi has had a very eventful day here, and he's just trying to cap it off with a win. Meanwhile, Frosty Calvin making a move on Sea-Dog in that McLaren. Frosty Calvin pitted for fresh softs just a few laps ago. Actually, 1 lap only ago, because he's got 1 lap on that tires. So Frosty Calvin trying to make his way up through the field as much as he possibly can. I do believe that he could get to Dennis in the 6th position, but that is going to be a big ask, because that is 3.5 seconds separating those 2 drivers, and he's going to have to get away from Sea-Dog first.
Yeah, I mean, Sea-Dog on 5-lap-old soft, so his tyres are definitely going to be falling off the cliff now, as we saw Celsa have to come in after 10 laps on the soft tyres, even after about 8 laps of safety car running. So, I mean, his tyres are going to be falling off the cliff very soon. As long as he can keep within that 1 second and get DRS, he's going to be able to claw himself back within.
Yeah, it's just going to have to be a big ask, though, from Calvin, but he is starting to gain on Dennis Jared just a little bit, so if he can gain about a second a lap, he will have a shot at him. However, it's going to be very close, but we will continue to monitor this battle, because he has now left Sea-Dog in the dust. Sea-Dog is not even within DRS range of Frosty Calvin, so those fresh softs definitely doing a world of good for the Red Bull there. Going to go take a look now at David in the 5th position. He is 23 seconds ahead of Dennis, and he is 23 seconds behind Joe-Ry, who is in 4th, and trying to deal with the lapped car of Veterano, but he will likely get by him very shortly. Going to take a look now at Joe-Ry's teammate of Stain running in 2nd, 18 laps on those hard tires now, and just trying to make sure that he can last the rest of the way. Max P in 3rd is just hanging out there with 8 laps on those medium tires. He definitely can make it toward the end, And, of course, as we've said, Levi has no choice but to try to do it at this time because he is coming to complete this lap. That will be 24 of 26 laps on the board. So we are coming to 3 laps to go very shortly here.
Yeah, and it's been a fantastic race to look back on. Some of the drivers will look back on it with fond memories, like Levi, who has controlled this race weekend, you have to say. Starting on pole and now looking like he's going to cruise to the finish, as there's a yellow flag in sector 2, and I think there's someone out at the castle section. Ashy Boy has crashed at the castle section, so I was going to go on to drivers who will look back with fond memories and with poor memories, and Ashy Boy will definitely be one who will look back with poor memories after crashing out there, but we'll give Veterano 2 points instead of the 1. So Veterano, who has soldiered on this race, even though I think he is a CPU, he will be glad to hear he will pick up some points for himself this season, as Jory here looked like he is gaining on max speed, but I don't think he's gaining enough to get within that 1 second for the back straight to put himself in the best position to get an overtake. So it will be Levi who will lead the race and nearly take us into the last 2 laps.
Meanwhile, Frosty Calvin has caught Dennis. He is very close. He is within DRS range now, so Frosty Calvin might be able to make a move on the Toro Rosso for the 6th position. We'll have to wait and see, but he is getting so very close to him, so that is essentially 2 Red Bulls, in a way, that are fighting each other out. And now Frosty Calvin going by Dennis, and Dennis actually let him by, so Dennis, knowing that Frosty Calvin was quicker than he was, just decided, hey, you know what, go by me, it is fine. So Frosty Calvin moves into the 6th position. I do believe that what you see is what you're going to get as far as his race goes, because I do not believe that he's going to be able to catch David, who is 6.5 seconds away, or excuse me, now 7 seconds away from David.
Yeah, Jory looks like he's right on the back of Max P, so I don't know what's happened to Max, but he must have made a mistake, as Jory will open DRS, and will he be able to get the move down the straight? Oh, Max goes into the pits. Max must have lost some front wing. There's no other way to explain why Jory gained so much on him. I think, yeah, Max P lost an end plate, so he must have crashed somewhere. And it's very disappointing for Max, as he was looking good for a podium finish, and will now have to contend with David, who is coming round the first corner now, and it's going to be very tight between them two. As David breaks down for the first corner, where will he come out? He will come out ahead of Max P. He will come out literally just behind him. So we've got another battle here on the last 2 laps of the race, as Max P will get DRS and will fly down this straight now. Does he have the movement to get past David? As David comes across once to defend the inside, Max looks to go around the outside on his fresh softs, the grippiest of all the tyres on the track at the moment. But no, he's not going to be able to get the move. David did well to defend that position. Maybe you could say he came across him, but it wasn't a dangerous move. He didn't swipe across him, so Max can't really complain that much, as he will be within DRS zone for the start-finish straight, and that is a very interesting development in this race.
Yeah, and the important thing to remember is David is running his race too. He is out there for points just the same as Max. So I don't see anything wrong with throwing just a little bit of a block there going into turn 3. Both drivers got through fairly unscathed, and now still having a very good battle is now Max P going underneath David. Will he be able to clear him? Yes, he does. So move Max P into the 4th position, and he is pulling away from that Mercedes now. So Max P, a man on a mission to try to gain back the positions that he lost, but with 1 lap remaining in this race, he is not going to be able to do it. He will likely end up in the 4th position. Gonna go take a look now at Levi, who is just going through the first sector. He has led most of this race. He was your pole sitter, and 2.7 seconds ahead of Stain. Levi is just hoping and praying that Stain is not quick enough on those old hard tires to catch him on his old medium tires. As they approach the castle section, the gap is 2.4 seconds between the Renault and the Williams, and Stain is catching him very quickly. I do believe that Levi's tires are just about shot. I think he'll have enough to make it back, but only just, as he goes through the second sector now, trying to do everything he can to hang on. Still 2.5 seconds separating these two drivers. The Renault looks to be the one that will win the race, but nonetheless, he has a few corners to go.
Yeah, I think Levi's going to be able to hold on, as most of the track from here on out is just straight, so his tyres will technically still be faster than Stain as he comes round the final, well, the main final corner there, turn 16, flies through turn 17, turn 18, turn 19, and then finally through turn 20, and he will now fly down the start-finish straight, and your winner of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix is Levi Vogular here, and a fantastic race for him, as Arsam out finishing third, and Stain will come around for second. Tim, I'll leave you to take it away from now.
Stain's teammate in the Williams, Jory, going to round out the podium in the third place. Looks like Max P in the Haas is going to finish in fourth after a little bit of a challenge from David there toward the end, but it looks like Max P has been able to pull away from David and put almost 2 seconds between the two. So Max P going to round out the fourth position. David going to come in fifth, more than likely just behind him as we ride on board with the Mercedes. We see Max P up there crossing the line, and David actually wrecks out at the end, but he is still able to get just past the line. So David barely finishing in fifth, followed by Frosty Calvin in sixth. Seventh is Dennis in the Toro Rosso, who will cross the line here in just a moment. Then Sea-Dog in the McLaren, who has a few corners yet to go, but he will finish in the 8th position, and Veterano will be in 9th. So Sea-Dog just has to make it through a few more corners, and he will officially have the 8th position in the Formula EuroLeague Tier 3 Series Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And I do believe that this is going to increase Williams' points lead in the Constructors' Championship, because the Toro Rosso did not score a lot of points today, as SVDL was a DNF. So overall, I do believe that it was a very good race that we saw today. Nonetheless, it was also no shortage of carnage and wrecks. We had 2 safety cars, plenty of virtual safety cars, and only 9 drivers actually finishing. So those 9 drivers scoring points, they will be happy about that, but there's about 12 other drivers or so, 11, that will not be too happy looking back on this race. But there you see the drivers celebrating, and your official running results, your official finishing order for the Tier 3 Series Formula EuroLeague Azerbaijan Grand Prix is Levi in first, Stain in second, Jory in third, Max P in fourth, David in fifth, Frosty Calvin sixth, 7th is Dennis, 8th is Sea-Dog Veterano, and 9th, 10th is Ashy Boy. He is the first DNF, and everyone behind him a DNF as well. So that is Sesa in 11th, Dimitri in 12th, Ramgo 0 in 13th, 14th is It's Jake, 15th Kukaracha, 16th Strict Dan, Waku in 17th, SVDL, your points leader in the 18th position, 19th Junior Spam, and King Kiski. All of those, of course, DNF. So unfortunate for them indeed. So, Alex, what did you think?
I thought it was the race we all wanted at Baku, and it's a shame we're not going to be racing here in real life. As if we could have as many safety cars, as many crashes as that, it will be a very intriguing race to witness. Congrats to Levi on his victory here today. Pole on Saturday, the win on Sunday. Fantastic race from him. Jory did well to fight back. So did Stain as well. Both Williams getting on the podium after being outside the points from pretty much the first lap. So very good comeback race from them. And all in all, it was a fantastic race to witness, and I was glad to be here.
And it's fun working with you, Alex, each and every week. That will do it, though, for the stream today. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. So have a good day, good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are in the world. And until next week, just have a good time. Goodbye.